Merry Christmas, everyone, and welcome to SOLIDWORKS Model Mania made with the Fusion 360. Today, we are going to take up the challenge of Model Mania year 2007. Let's get started. I'm going to head up and select this plus button to create a new design. Let's grab and inspect the 2D drawing. Let's focus first on this feature and initially create a circle with 50 millimeters diameter. Let me hit C for circle and let's sketch on our XZ plane, selecting this. Let's drop our center point at the origin, left click. The diameter to be 50, hitting enter. Let's move the dimension here. Let me zoom in. Next, I'm going to hit R for rectangle and create the rectangular sketch here. And let's dimension this, hitting D for dimension, selecting these two vertical lines. The value to be 14. Let's select this top horizontal line. Next, I'm going to right click and select Pick Circle Arc Tangent. I'm going to hold Shift. So notice the X mark. So once more, holding Shift, left click, and move to the left. Placing our dimension here, left click, and key in 55. Selecting enter, hitting escape. Next, I would like to grab our horizontal vertical constraint, hold shift to locate the midpoint of this horizontal line, holding shift. So notice the triangle, left click. Next, I'm going to select our origin as well, left click here, hitting escape. And as a personal preference, let me turn this horizontal line into a construction line, selecting this. And finally, let's create the 80 diameter circle, hitting C, dropping the center point at the origin, and keying in 80. Hitting enter. Let's move these dimensions over here. Let's inspect the side view and notice the extrusion has a distance of AT. And that AT is same with this diameter. With that in mind, I'm going to reuse D8, which is the parameter name of this dimension. When the moment comes when we have to define the distance of the extrusion, we are going to plug in D8 for the value. Moving forward, I'm going to hit E for extrude and select this profile. And for the distance, we're going to key in D8. Inspecting, operation new body, and let's select OK. Moving forward, let's sketch out this feature. Let's enter sketch mode. I'm going to hit C for circle and let's sketch on our YZ plane. Zooming out. Let's drop our center point somewhere around here. Left click. The diameter to be 30. Let's create another circle, hitting C, dropping the center point on the center point of this newly created circle. I'm going to key in 50. Let's get this dimensions organized, moving this here and this one. In addition, we can turn this dimension into a radial dimension by selecting this, right click, and selecting toggle radius. Let's create some arcs. I'm going to hit S for shortcuts, typing ARC, selecting 3-point arc, and notice we need to have a reference for me to drop our first point. So I'm going to hit escape, hit P for project, and under selection filter, I'm going to enable bodies. Enabling projection link as well, and selecting this body, and selecting OK. Let's grab that arc once more, hitting S for shortcuts, typing ARC, selecting 3-point arc, placing our first point at this reference, left click here, left click once more, creating another arc, left click, holding shift, left click at this intersection in order for us to create an inferred tangent constraint. So notice, holding shift, left click, create another arc from this point going to our circle, and the left click once more, hitting escape. Next, obviously this needs a tangent constraint. Selecting tangent, selecting this arc and this arc, hitting escape. Next, let's define the distance of this center point, hitting D for dimension, selecting this point and our origin, moving to the right, place our dimension here and key in 100. Next, selecting the center point once more and selecting any of this vertical edge or this point, placing our dimension here, key in for T. In addition, this arc and this vertical line, it needs to have a smooth transition as well. Selecting tangent, selecting this arc and this vertical projected line, hitting escape, and let's inspect. Notice the center point of this arc should be aligned as well with these points horizontally. So let's head over to horizontal vertical constraint, selecting any of these points and selecting this center point, hitting escape, hit D once more for dimension. Let's dimension this arc, placing the dimension here, keying in 200. Next, selecting this arc, the value to be 50. It all turned into black, meaning it's fully defined. Let's now select Finish Sketch. Hit E for extrude, and let's select this profile. For the direction, I'm going to change this to symmetric. Pulling this, measurement to be whole length, and for the distance, we're going to key in 50. Operation New Body, selecting OK. In addition, I want this feature to adapt to our rib. And because of that, we need the rib to be made before this feature. And to do that, I'm going to step backward by moving our timeline marker to the right, reveal our sketches, specifically our second sketch, hit E for extrude and select this profile, direction to be symmetric, and the thickness for this, under measurement first, let's enable whole length, the thickness to be 20. Operation should be join, selecting OK. Notice we have a gap here. To remove this gap, I'm going to select this faces, hit E for extrude, and under extent, I'm going to select to object. And for that object, it will be up to this face. And for the chain faces, I'm going to select this right option, operation to be join, and selecting OK. Let's now move or reveal the suppressed feature by left clicking and holding, moving to the right. Let's apply the fillets on this side, hitting F, selecting this edge and this edge, the value to be 50, selecting OK. Next, let's inspect if we have created multiple bodies. Yes, we did. Our goal here is to create only one body. So I'm going to the feature where we created this cylinder. With this selected, I'm going to right click, selecting edit feature, and under operation we're going to change this to join, selecting OK. And to finish off phase 1, I'm going to hit F for fillet, head over to select. Under selection filters, we're going to disable select all and enable body edges, creating a window selection. To select these edges, I'm going to hold Control to deselect this edge and this edge. Select this edges, inspecting the value to be 4, leaving the defaults, selecting OK. Congratulations for completing phase 1. Let's move over to phase 2 and notice this rib shifted to the right. Let's focus on that revision first. Recall that the sketch that created this feature is our second sketch, and this sketch was made on the YZ plane. Let's move back in time before we have created the second sketch. So I'm going to grab our timeline marker, left click and hold, and move this after extrude 1. Next, we're going to create a new sketch. So I'm going to head up to construct and select tangent plane. And for the target face, it will be this cylindrical face. Notice the plane is at our desired position. And just to make sure, I'm going to key in 0 and selecting OK. Let's move forward by selecting next step. Head over to our second sketch, right click and select redefine sketch plane. Our new plane will be this newly created construction plane. Selecting this, selecting OK. Let's move one step. Let me head over to front view. And notice we need to shift the other half of this rib to the left. Let's head over to this feature at the timeline. Selecting this, right click and select edit feature. Let's change the direction to one side. And we need to go in a negative direction. So I'm going to type in negative at the front. Operation join, selecting OK. Let's move one step once more. And notice we have an error. So I'm going to select this extrusion, right click and select edit feature. The intent of this extrusion is to fill in the gap between these two bodies. So we are going to redefine. I'm going to head over to object and remove the current selection by selecting this X mark. And for our new object, it will be this cylindrical face. Solution to be minimum, chain faces to be chain faces. Operation join, selecting OK. Let's move one step once more. Let's redefine this feature, selecting this, right click and selecting edit feature. For the direction, I'm going to change this to two sides. The first side, so notice as I am moving this, side 2 is also updating, which means this arrow pertains to side 2. For side 2's extent, I'm going to select two object, and that would be up to this ribs face. And notice at the 2D drawing, we have a fillet here at 25. So for side 1, the distance would be 25. Let's now select OK. Let's move one step forward to our first fillet. And let's redefine its value. Right click, selecting edit feature, and I'm going to key in 25. But notice here, this is a difference between SOLIDWORKS and Fusion 360. The transition doesn't go smoothly on this area. But notice as I decrease the fillet's radius, as it reaches around the 20, it's still okay. But when I go beyond 20, like 21, notice here it doesn't smoothly transitions. So take note of this difference between SOLIDWORKS and Fusion 360. So I'm just going to key in here instead of 25 to be 20. Selecting OK. Let's move forward and reveal the final feature. And notice here we have an error. Instead of editing this feature, I'm just going to cancel this out, suppress this feature, and instead create a new fillet. So that is just a personal preference for me. Hitting F. Let's add the fillet first for this edge, which is 25. Selecting OK. Hit F once more. Head over to select. Under selection filters, let's disable select all, enable body edges, creating a window selection, holding control and left clicking to deselect these edges, inspecting the radius to be 4, leaving the defaults and selecting OK. Let's inspect. And finally, for this feature, let's go back in time after our first extrusion. Next, I'm going to select all of these faces. Next, I'm going to hit M for move. So notice I am moving faces, heading to front view. And for the move type, let me change this to rotate instead. For the axis, I'm going to select our Y axis. Next, let me grab this rotate handle and key in 40. Selecting OK. And from here, let's grab our marker once more and revert back. And that's one of the cool features in Fusion 360, the move copy command. In addition, I can also use that command in order for us to move this rib to the right. Congratulations for completing the phase 2 of this Model Mania 2007 challenge. Inviting you to join us in LinkedIn. Our group is Fusion 360 Worldwide Users. We are also in Facebook, going by the name of Autodesk Fusion 360 User Group Philippines. If you find this useful, please consider subscribing. It helps the channel a lot. Wishing you and your family health, happiness, peace, and prosperity this Christmas and in the coming new year.